I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Little late, Coop.
Yeah, we had a flat.
And I guess you had to stop off at the Asian fighter plane store.
No, actually, sir, that's a surveillance drone with outstanding solar cells. It's Indian.
Take a seat. So,
What about college?
well, the university only takes a handful. They don't really have the resources
I
to...
still pay my taxes. Now, where's that money go? There's no more armies.
Well, it doesn't go to the university. But, Coop, you have to be realistic.
You're ruling my son out for college now? The kid's 15.
Tom's score simply isn't high enough.
What's your waistline? Oh, what, 32? I'm about 33 inseam.
I'm not sure I see what you're getting at.
Are you telling me it takes two numbers to measure your own ass, but only one to measure my son's future?
We didn't run out of television screens and planes. We ran out of food. The world needs farmers. Good farmers, like you. And Tom.
Uneducated farmers.
We're a caretaker generation, Coop.
We down here, sir?
No. Miss Hanley's here to talk about Murph.
Murph is a great kid. She's really bright, but she's been having a little trouble lately. She brought this in to show the other students the section on the lunar landings.
Yeah, that's one of my old textbooks. She always loved the pictures.
It's an old federal textbook. We've replaced them with the corrected versions.
Corrected?
Explaining how the Apollo missions were fake to bankrupt the Soviet Union.
You don't believe we went to the moon?
I believe it was a brilliant piece of propaganda that the Soviets bankrupted themselves, pouring resources into rockets and other useless machines.
Useless machines?
And if we don't want a repeat of the excess and wastefulness of the 20th century, then we need to teach our kids about this planet, not tales of leaving it. We need to teach our kids about this planet.
Deep in western Russia, the frigid desert contains the remnants of one of the most ambitious scientific experiments ever performed. It's a ruin now, a wasteland of jagged metal and crumbling concrete. If you search around long enough, you will find a rusted disc bolted to the earth. So unassuming that you might even try to pick it up, but you won't be able to. It's the welded shut cap of a borehole that plummets more than 12 kilometers into the earth, deeper than the deepest depths of the ocean. It's the deepest hole on Earth. It's called the Kola Super Deep Borehole, and its existence has nothing to do with petroleum exploration. Rather, when drilling began in 1970, Soviet scientists hoped to eventually drill down to 15,000 meters in order to gain a better understanding of the nature of the Earth's crust. Because the truth is, we know less about what's under our feet than what's on the other side of the solar system. They drilled on and off for 24 years, and though they didn't quite reach their goal when work came to a halt in 1994, the engineers had reached a record depth, 12,262 meters, a record that still stands today. 2 decades later, the Kola borehole remains a remarkable technological and scientific achievement. To drill it, engineers devised a new method by which only the drill bit at the end of the shaft was rotated. The lubricant, in this case pressurized drilling mud, was pumped down through a custom drill bit, allowing it to spin. Instruments had to be invented to take measurements at the bottom of the hole. What did we learn by drilling a third of the way through the Baltic continental crust? For one, there's water down there. At depths, scientists didn't believe water could be found. They suspect that the water formed from hydrogen and oxygen that were squeezed out of rock crystals due to crazy high levels of pressure that far down. Unlike groundwater, this water originated from the rock minerals themselves. Never before had this been observed. Also surprising? How about microscopic fossils discovered by Russians at depths of up to 6.7 kilometers? Researchers cataloged 24 species of single-cell plankton microfossils over the course of the project, and they weren't found in the kinds of deposits we're used to finding them in, like limestone and silica. These were covered by organic carbon and nitrogen compounds preserved thanks to those high pressures and high temperatures so far below the surface. As for those temperatures, by the time the engineers broke through the 12-kilometer mark, where rock samples were dated at 2.7 billion years old, the heat became a major issue. Researchers thought the temperature of the rocks would be about 100 degrees Celsius. What they found were temperatures in excess of 180 degrees. It was this heat that caused the drilling to come to a stop. Engineers described the rocks at 12 kilometers as acting more like plastic than rock. Of course, as astonishing as this project was, the Kola Super Deep Borehole only made it through a tiny fraction of the Earth's layers. 12 kilometers is 3 times as deep as humans have ever gone, but the Earth's mantle doesn't even begin until about 35 kilometers below the surface. The mantle then continues for another 2,800 kilometers, the center of the inner core more than 6,300 kilometers below the surface. Put another way, this borehole, which took 24 years to drill, made it roughly 0.002% of the way to the middle of the Earth. It's a big planet, you guys. It's a big planet, you guys. It's a big planet, you guys. Thank you for...
We need to teach our kids about this planet. We need to teach our kids about this planet. We need to teach our kids about this planet. And if we don't want a repeat of the excess and wastefulness of the 20th century, then we need to teach our kids about this planet, not tales of leaving it. 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 Not tales of leaving it.
NASA claims that we successfully landed man on the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972. Here we are in 2016, and NASA constantly tells us that we can't go beyond low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. The moon is claimed to be 238,000 miles away. That's a big difference.
NASA's next spacecraft, already being built and tested across America, will do those things and more.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
2.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
3.
Plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
4.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit. So we have a really robust exploration program at NASA.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
5.
And unlike the previous program, we are setting a course with specific and achievable milestones. Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
So how did we send humans to the moon 6 times so early on, but we can't figure it out in 2016? How was it so easy to go to the moon in 1969 using this flimsy lunar module? Even more interesting, who was already on the moon filming the arrival of the module? Was it the same person who stayed back on the moon and filmed the departure of the module?
Port stage pushed. Mission arm is out. Okay, I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector good. Ag side.
Just wondering. This is ODD TV. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is Dalton Spurlock, and my question is for Kate. Why is it not possible to physically land on or explore other planets?
Well, it is physically possible. We've sent humans to the moon. The United States has proven that we can actually land people and a large amount of equipment on another body.
And if we don't want a repeat of the excess and wastefulness of the 20th century, then we need to teach our kids about this planet. Not tales of leaving it. 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 Not tales of leaving it.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Starlight, star bright.
A million strange stars and only one wish. Wish we were home. Never seen a sky look so alien. We really are lost, aren't we?
When the first sailors circled the globe, saw a brand new sky, they thought they'd sailed right off the edge of the Earth, but they were really just around the corner.
So you're saying that we should just billow our sails and let the wind take us home? Is that it, Major?
Yeah, what do you bitches want to see?
Love is stronger than space.
You guys, lady boners over here.
Nowadays, outer space is a given in everyone's mind. It's virtually in every movie, video game, comic book, novel, and even music and TV shows, causing mostly everyone to believe in outer space without question, even though they have never been there or seen it for themselves. Did you know that we are told that a mere 536 people have been to space, with only 24 of them traveling beyond low Earth orbit? That's barely a drop in the bucket as far as the entirety of Earth's population is concerned. And one of the funniest things is that all 24 people that have supposedly been past low Earth orbit come from the Apollo missions that took place between 1963 and 1972. We haven't been able to go that far since. Here's a glimpse of what NASA astronauts of today are saying.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
And this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
And here's Apollo 12 astronaut Alan Bean being interviewed about the Van Allen radiation belts.
Any ill effects from the Van Allen radiation belts?
No. Now, I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did. I don't know the distance to the Van Allen radiation belt.
The belts are 1,000 miles to 25,000 miles above the Earth.
Then we went right out through them.
No effects on your cells?
Didn't even know it. I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody said you went through the radiation belt, but we didn't feel it inside, and we didn't get any, added radiation. Not on our mission, by the way. They hadn't been discovered yet.
So you see, he wasn't even sure what the Van Allen belts were, and when he was told, he basically says that the radiation belts didn't apply to his mission because they hadn't been discovered yet. Fun fact, did you know that all the data having to do with the alleged moon landings was lost and no longer exists?
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
How anyone can trust NASA is beyond me. Now let's talk about how we got here, to the point where space is an unquestionable fact. Let's start with how the geocentric flat Earth model dominated from the beginning of recorded history all the way up into the 1600s, and though it's mostly propaganda, even the Flat Earth Wikipedia contains a bit of truth. Many ancient cultures subscribed to a flat Earth cosmography, including China until the 17th century. Now let's look at an article I found that supports this. The ancient Chinese accepted the Earth being a flat geocentric, and that an umbrella-like covering surrounded it, which was similar to the beliefs of the Greek, East Indian, Egyptians, Norse, and Germanic, as well as the Aboriginal people of the Americas. The Chinese astronomers believed that heaven takes its body from the yang, so it is round and in motion, and that the Earth takes its body from the yin, so it is flat and quiescent. The brilliant astronomers of China held this unchanging belief until the Jesuit missionaries came to China in the 17th century. Alberto Rivera, a former Jesuit priest, claimed the goal of the Jesuit order was to create a one-world religion by influencing all institutions of thought. Their goal, I believe, is not to make everyone belong to just one church, but for all churches to adhere to their cosmology and thought form. By taking over the sciences, they can cut out any greater divine beliefs in the creation of Earth. The most interesting thing about that is the Jesuit order was founded in 1540, during a time when the Earth was still depicted like this. Earth in the center, with the wandering stars moving around us, surrounded by the firmament, just like all ancient cultures. And 100 years later, this is what was being pumped out. By the Jesuits, of course. After the Jesuit order was established is when the heliocentric programming began. In 1634, a book called Somnium, Latin for the dream, was published. Written by Johannes Kepler, an obvious Freemason, this is the first ever novel to talk about traveling to the moon. The story is about an Icelandic voyager who is transported to the moon by aerial demons, followed by another book called The Man in the Moon, written in 1638 by Francis Godwin. A Spaniard flies to the moon using a contraption pulled by geese. Followed by The Discovery of a World in the Moon, written in 1638 by John Wilkins. This book helped to popularize the new science of astronomy in England, based in particular on Johannes Kepler's Somnium and Galileo's discoveries with the telescope. This is particularly interesting because modern refracting telescopes are based on a design proposed by Johannes Kepler, and the Jesuit Brotherhood is directly responsible for first spreading the said telescope technology in the 17th century. And the list goes on and on as far as books dedicated to a trip to the moon. Well into the 1900s, where in 1902, one of the first movies ever made in the world was called A Trip to the Moon. From there, the programming got increasingly faster with each decade until it became yearly and even weekly and then daily. Science fiction comics exploded in the 1930s. We went to the moon thousands of times in these books and movies long before NASA was even brought into the picture. Walt Disney made a space propaganda film in 1955, just 3 years before the founding of NASA.
Here to introduce you to this new series is Walt Disney.
In our modern world, everywhere we look, we see the influence science has upon our daily lives. Discoveries that were miracles a few short years ago are accepted as commonplace today. Many of the things that seem impossible now will become realities tomorrow. One of man's oldest dreams has been the desire for space travel, to travel to other worlds. Until recently, this seemed to be an impossibility. But great new discoveries have brought us to the threshold of a new frontier, the frontier of interplanetary space.
The same year NASA was founded, in 1958, the Jet Propulsion Lab, or JPL, Jack Parsons Lab, was transferred to NASA by the U.S. Army. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory was founded by Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons was a member of the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, and he was heavily influenced by Aleister Crowley. He was also deeply connected to Ron L. Hubbard, the founder of the Church of Scientology. And it all goes so much deeper, the rabbit hole never seems to end. So finally, they fake going to the moon for the first time in 1969, and they do it 5 more times by 1972. Now everybody believes that outer space is 100% real and that traversing the stars is a possibility. The movies keep coming. The TV shows.
Math, science, history, unraveling the mystery that all started with a big bang. Hey!
The video games. The music videos.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out headphones.
Mars Lander, what's happening up there?
And here we are today. We haven't faked going into deep space in almost 50 years. We just continue to believe in it simply because that is what we're seeing on that screen. I go to the movie theater sometimes, and every single time I go, this ad for the movie theater plays before the movie. Check this out.
Thanks for coming with me tonight.
No, I love robots.
So, what's your favorite movie?
In space.
In space.
With zombies.
You get 2 Cokes and a popcorn. So, what's your favorite movie?
In space. In space. With zombies.
In space with zombies. Yeah, you got that right. Outer space is for zombies. Once you see all of this for what it is, and that the joke is on us, it's just absolutely ridiculous what they have us blindly believing. Fun fact, the term outer space wasn't recorded until 1875. This has been ODD. Much love, everybody. Stay flat. Stay flat. Stay flat. Stay flat. Stay flat. Stay flat.
Emergency channel open.
To anyone within the sound of my voice, this is Captain James T. Kirk of the Federation Starship Enterprise. If you read me, acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Enterprise, this is Starfleet Command. We read you. Over.
A hostile force has taken control of our vessel, put us on a direct course with the Great Barrier. Our coordinates are 000 Mark 2. Request emergency assistance. Acknowledge.
Understood, Enterprise. We are dispatching a rescue ship immediately.
I trust your message was received.
You can't expect us to stand by while you take the ship into the Great Barrier.
What you fear is the unknown. The people of your planet once believed their world was flat. Columbus proved it was round. They said the sound barrier could never be broken. It was broken. They said warp speed could not be achieved. The Great Barrier is the ultimate expression of this universal fear. It's an extension of personal fear.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. La 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 la. La 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 la. This is how we do it. La la
Jerry Broughton, we're surrounded here by maps, old maps, and you're clearly fascinated by them.
They are monopolizing maps online. If you go online and you're using maps, you are probably using a Google map. And there's also some sort of sinister and worrying dimensions to Google because they buy Earth Viewer, which is the application, and that is funded by the CIA.
This is the company that they buy that provides them with the ability to produce this.
That's right.
I mean, that's interesting that the CIA government had a hand in funding it.
Today we're going to be comparing
actually looking at a sphere versus looking at what is said to represent a sphere on Google Earth. Because after all, Google Earth is said to represent the supposed sphere that we live on. So I like to compare and contrast how this sphere is not doing the same thing as an actual sphere. This is an actual sphere. This one's made out of glass. And I put an X on it right here. Now, if I was to take this X right in the middle towards the camera and I was to spin this once, just 180, it would be on the exact opposite side, correct? So the X is now on the exact opposite side. Now, if I was to spin this another 180, whoop, there it is again. So, if you have a sphere and you spin it around once, you halfway, and then you spin it around another time halfway, boom, that same spot will always come back, right? So now let's compare and contrast if the same thing happens with Google Earth. Now there's the United States. Let's just consider the United States to be the same thing as that X right there. So there's the United States, and if I was to start on the side over here, all the way on the side, and drag it once, all the way, so there's once, right? Now I'm going to drag it a second time, 2, and you'll notice something. We aren't back to the United States again. Remember how when I showed you with the ball right here, the real ball? Let's go. See here, look. See the X? The X, 1. It's on the other side. 2, and it's back. Well, we just went 2 spins. The United States isn't back. So there's 2, 3. About 2.5, almost 3. Let's try that again. There it is in the middle. We're going to do 1 spin. 1. And it should come right back around to the exact same spot with the United States, just like we did with an actual sphere. 2. But it doesn't. So that just goes to show you they're actually not representing a sphere correctly. And after 2 times, see, the United States still isn't back. You actually have to spin it, whoop, another half time. Isn't that crazy? And apparently, my friend Brucey's telling me here, if you make it really big and you blow it up and you do the same thing and you spin it once all the way, twice, and now look at this. It takes 3 times and we're still not all the way around. Oh, about 3.5. Wow, it takes more times. You have to spin it more times the bigger it gets. See how that works? Doesn't matter how big a ball is, folks. If you spin it around once, you're looking at the other side. Spin it around twice, you're back looking at the same side again. Doesn't matter how big the ball is. But apparently this one, when it shrinks, you can spin it less times. And it'll bring the United States back around. Here it is, United States. We spin it once, twice, and it's still not back around. You have to spin it an extra half time. And then when you blow up the ball even bigger, we'll get it centered just like the X was, and we spin it once, twice, and now 3 times. And it's still not all the way around. About 3.25 times. Does that make sense? The smaller it gets, the less times you have to spin it around. The bigger it gets, the more times you have to spin it around. Take a marble, take a bowling ball, put an X on one side of both of them, and spin them around once and then twice. You're going to be looking at an X. Just like we did with this one. The real sphere, right? You take the X, where the hell is it? Let me line it up again. There it is. There's the X, right? It's on the other side. There's only two sides, right? It's gone. It's on the other side. This one takes 3.5 times to turn around. Something's not right here, Google Earth. Google Earth busted. Compare Google Earth to a sphere. Anyone can do this. Anyone can repeat this. Google Earth does not react the same way a real sphere does. It's computer-generated bullshit. This is the real deal.
It's not tomorrow! It's today! They're sealing the park today! Grab your valuables! She's gonna seal! Lighten your loads! Live free or die!
It's not fair! Hey, guys, let's relax, okay? Like I said, they're not sealing the dome till tomorrow.
Are you blind, man? Can you not see that the dome has been sealed today?
Calm down. Look, here comes Maillard now. I'm sure he'll clear this whole thing up.
Mac West, I got watching these people that believe the Earth is flat.
Finally, there's fucking proof of it. I've known. My fucking dad knew that years ago.
Ricky, don't start on the Earth is flat bullshit.
It is. There's proof.
No, there isn't, Ricky.
There's no proof. Oh, I've found proof.
There's no proof that the Earth is flat. Define proof. Let's talk about what the word proof means. Do you know what proof is?
It's like when you're right.
No.
No. You're trying to get to that, being right.
Proof.
You need proof. Well, I know what it means in liquor. Like if you get an 80 proof, it means it's 40%.
Right. That's not what I mean.
Not that
scientific proof.
Right. That's what they've got somewhere. It says. There's a fucking. It's not. It makes sense. If it's flat. There's a big wall of ice around it.
Ricky.
It's flat with. It's a dome. It's a dome. And the sun's closer than we all thought too, and it's smaller.
What?
Yep.
He's been watching the fucking videos.
Is that what they're saying?
The flat Earth people say the fucking Earth is a flat disc.
All right.
Surrounded by an ice wall that's a couple hundred feet high, and that's what holds the oceans in. And a lot of them say there's a fucking big dome over it.
Yep. There's a big ice wall.
An ice wall surrounds the perimeter. That's what holds the oceans in.
That's not. And the picture of the Earth looks a lot different. I think it's Australia up here, and the Americas of North and South down here.
Ricky's talking about the map that you see on the United Nations logo. He thinks that's the actual map of the world.
Anyway, when I knew for sure, 100,000% it was true, this guy's on the rambling, and I'm like, I'm starting to believe it. He goes, if you really, really want to believe, try to book a flight from the Southern Americas to the Australias.
Yeah.
Qantas, man, you can fly. I don't know. I couldn't find one. They're there, but you try to get on, and they're like, no.
Oh, yeah, look at this. Look at this. Computer.
Oh.
Hey, it's me again. In a previous video, I probably said something along the lines of bodies of water on curve. At least that sounds like something that I'd say. To which I got a response from a guy, probably just had a letter for his avatar or a cartoon character. No videos on his channel, no like videos, no subscribers. You know, he proceeded to enlighten me to the fact that bodies of water do curve, he tells me, and that I should probably go down to the ocean to check, because obviously I had never been to the ocean. I'm not sure exactly how he could tell that about me, although I do recall going on a cruise in a past life. At any rate, at the behest of this kind gentleman, I decided to gas up the old van and take a drive down the Pacific Ocean, down the ocean shores, Washington. So, let me show you what I saw. I'm at the Pacific Ocean. Well, I went there and I was totally looking for curvature. I just couldn't find any. Maybe I missed something. At any rate, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Hit the bell in order to get notifications when I do post a new video. Be sure to link up with myself and the crew over at Future of Flat Earth or Flat Life on Facebook. As always, thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Take care of yourself and stay flat. I'll see you in the next video. But the guy told me that there was curvature out there. People always lying, man. See, that's why I got trust issues right there.
You copy? No, I didn't read your truck at all. I can't read your truck. You want to try the phone? Yeah, how do I get the moon? We got time between three buildings. I can't hear a thing you're saying.
Flags at Cape Kennedy are flying at half-mast on this cold, windy morning, and tight security has been placed around Launch Complex 34, where the big Saturn booster and the charred Apollo spacecraft still stand, empty now except for the investigators who are searching for the cause of the tragic fire.
I'm so sorry, baby. Yeah. I got to say, I'm sorry. Oh, I promise. Don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me. Yeah, yeah,
Fuck you.
Bravo.